Good morning. Well, at least it's morning here in beautiful southern Oregon, more specifically Medford. Welcome to episode 86 of Minipod with me, Dave Jacobs. Now, believe me when I say that it's harder to get a guest to come back a second time than it is a first time. You might argue with me about this, and you might be right, but certainly we agree that it's hard to get someone back a second time. And believe it or not, some church members aren't that keen on having new people join the church. They would never say this out loud, or maybe they would, but deep down, they like the way things are and they don't cherish the idea of new people coming and messing things up. Now, for those of you that are fortunate enough to pastor a church like this, here are some guaranteed ways to keep scaring your visitors away. First of all, you've got to teach your people that those churches that are either seeker sensitive or guest sensitive or really trying to attract unchurched people, explain to your people that those are the worldly churches and they do this because they're watering the gospel down and they're just trying to tickle people's ears. Next, don't feel obligated to explain too much to your guests about what's going on during the Sunday morning service. I mean, after all, it's their job to figure out all that insider talk. They should know who Bob is when you announce he's the one planning the men's retreat. And you know what? If you do a lot of standing up and sitting down, just spring it on them. It's really funny to watch people try to coordinate this with the others so that they don't look like they're an oddball who's still sitting when others are standing. And if you're one of those charismatic churches, please, please, please don't explain all that stuff that's going on when the Spirit starts to move. Now, here's a couple other things. I'm actually concerned that so many churches are no longer asking guests to stand up and introduce themselves. We need to bring this back, and whatever you do, don't give up the whole meet and greet time. Introverts and newcomers, they love that kind of stuff. Next, encourage your people to fellowship with their friends before and after the service, rather than try to, strike up a conversation with the visitor. After all, it's easier to talk to someone you know rather than someone you don't know. If someone's looking for friends, they should have brought one of them with them. Here's a few more ideas. If your people insist on being friendly, train them how to be so friendly that it's really just more creepy than friendly. Here's another thing. Preach 10 minutes too long. And speaking of preaching, always preach on holiness and sin and judgment, God's coming judgment. What's wrong with this sinful world? What's wrong with the liberal Christians? What's wrong with the conservative Christians? What's wrong with the Christians who can't make up their mind what they believe? Here's another thing. Have really bad coffee. Next, have the volume of your music so loud that it'll make their ears bleed. People love going to a church that makes them bleed. And if you're one of those churches that use hymnals, insist on ones that have the print so small that the visitor, they've got to squint and struggle to read the words, which results in a headache. People love going to a church that gave them a headache. And kind of related to that, if you're into hymns, choose those words that are written in a key that really no human, could actually sing, especially the men. It's fun to watch men act like they're singing, but they're really not singing because they feel obligated to sing, but they just can't sing that high. Or to see those people that are trying to reach those high notes, and you know how the veins just bulge out of their neck? That's really fun. Now, if you don't use hymnals and are one of those contemporary churches that sing the choruses, choose those choruses. And might I say, if you consider yourself a contemporary church, yet you refer to songs as choruses, you're not as contemporary as you think you are. But anyways, if you do that, choose the ones that are poorly written, hard to follow, and have really strange lyrics. And, the kind that even your own people don't understand, let alone guests. Well, that's all I've got for now. Maybe you can gather your leaders together and come up with more ways to scare first-time visitors away. You see, church is for the committed, and if those people were committed, they'd already be in your church. Who needs them anyways? Unless they tithe and are willing to work in the children's ministry, we always need those people. That's it for today. Talk to you next time. See ya.